The Orcs troll is fairly unreliable, which makes a lot of people not even want to use him. The troll, by the way, is the big guy for the Orcs. A standard lineup without an Orc would be about 2 linemen, 1 thrower, 4 black Orcs, 4 blitzers, and 3 rerolls. However, if you just can't go without a troll, then the standard lineup becomes 1 lineman, 1 thrower, 4 black Orcs, 4 blitzers, 1 troll, and 2 rerolls. Which in my experience, 2 rerolls is usually a pretty good amount. At least to start with, you can always buy more later. Now, the Orcs are probably the most straightforward team in Blood Bowl, which is one of their advantages because they're easy to understand. However, it's also one of their disadvantages. Because the team is fairly standard and straightforward, there are a lot of situations in which you won't be able to counter your enemy's movements. For example, if you're fighting the Wood Elves and they're just jumping all over the place, there's not much you can really do about it besides just try to hit them a lot. However, you do have one advantage on your side, which is the thrower. But then again, the thrower is also very unreliable, which makes a lot of people not like them very much. They're also only situationally useful, which makes them even less valuable. However, the thrower does have the Sure Hands upgrade whenever you buy one. And the Sure Hands upgrade makes picking up the ball a lot easier, so you don't have to worry about fumbling it far too much if you're picking it up using the thrower. Although the Orcs have very high strength and you can hit things really hard, you also have the disadvantage of not being able to move very much. So if you're up against a team like the Skaven, which can move like crazy, a situation can arise where they just run around you and you won't be able to catch up. You can try to counter this by keeping a couple of your players farther in the back of your field. This way, even if the Skaven do get around you, you can still catch up to them because you have players nearby. So because you won't be able to move around as much as other races, you have really only an average movement allowance, then you have to be a lot more clever about where you're placing your players. Think about your placement strategically. That's the biggest advice that I can give to Orc players. Remember to leverage your strength as much as you can because you don't have a lot else going for you. Except in cases where you might be against the dwarves, you're going to be able to harm your enemy quite well. However, some races, like the dwarves, have very high armor and it might be harder to pummel them into the ground. In these cases, you might actually have the upper hand in movement allowance, especially against the dwarves. So try to get around them as best you can and then just run for it. You also have a fairly average agility, so you can throw the ball around if you really need to. And you always have the thrower. You can use him to throw one of your allies over the other team and towards the end zone. But again, while this tactic is extremely effective when it does work, it doesn't always work. So use it in moderation. Or just go nuts with it. I don't care, I'm not your mother. Rerolls are always important, but they're especially important for a team like the Orcs. Because you have to leverage your strength a lot, you're going to have to reroll quite often. Take this example for example. If a Skaven gets around your front line and gets way behind you, then you have to use one of your players to go and run up to that Skaven and then knock that Skaven out. Hopefully you'll be able to get some other Orcs around your attacking Orc for support, but that won't always be the case. So having a lot of rerolls makes it so that you can go and try to run up to that Skaven and then attack it multiple times if need be to knock it down. Anyway, I hope that was helpful, just a couple of general tips on the Orcs. Thank you for watching and goodbye.